It's 2006. I'm on a family holiday to Newcastle for my 13th birthday. We go to the Metro Centre, a huge shopping centre with a massive video arcade. I sprint through the doors all excited, up the stairs, through the indoor amusement park and straight into the arcade, then screech to a halt, for in front of me is my all-time favourite driving arcade game, Crazy Taxi. I mean, this game was just the best. The graphics, the gameplay, the soundtrack. For 13-year-old me, this was the holy grail of driving gaming at the time. Now obviously I wasn't the best driver at the time. Just later that year in fact, I nearly drove a golf buggy off a cliff in Australia. But for those sweet 30 or so minutes, I was the best taxi driver the world had ever seen. Then my time ran out and it was back to reality. Eventually I managed to score a PlayStation copy of the game, and I sunk a fair few hours into it. And then that was it. Since then I've always looked to see where the franchise had gone, but it seemed to die a death on console around 2002, and although the series continued as a handheld and mobile game, it was just never quite the same again. The Simpsons Road Rage somewhat scratched the itch, but in time I just wanted to play Crazy Taxi again. We even had Taxi Chaos this year that existed, but it still isn't the same old Crazy Taxi that we know and love. I'm Mark from Racing Games, and I'm here to demand that Crazy Taxi needs to come back. Be it a remaster, remake or reboot, we seriously need to ride that taxi high once again. Crazy Taxi was originally released for arcade machines in 1999, a time when the original PlayStation was the most popular home console around. Its success led to an inevitable console port, with the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 versions selling best. This was the version I had, part of my epic collection of somewhat adequate console ports of arcade games. The game was a huge hit for two simple reasons: its simplicity and its chaos. Crazy Taxi wasn't a complicated game. You drive to a fair, pick them up, then charge across the city to their destination before the clock hits 0. The faster you get to the goal, the more time you earn for the overall clock. Oh, and the more money you earn too, but who cares about that? The magic arrow in the sky keeps you focused on your objective, and the epic soundtrack is backed up by both you and your customers reacting to near misses, light bumps, or bone-crunching crashes. Have I sold it to you yet? Now this might sound obvious, but the more chaos you create in a game, the more fun you can have. Crazy Taxi is Exhibit A. You're not blowing up buildings here, or even robbing banks. All you're doing is running the world's most chaotic taxi. However, it's the unpredictable nature of the game that keeps you coming back. The chaos on show is best displayed when the clock is running down to 0, as panic stations well and truly set in. Before you pick up a passenger, you have no idea where they'll be heading. So if you get a fare that's to the other side of town, you'll have to drive like Lewis Hamilton to make it before it's too late. That randomness, the 180-degree change of direction, is what makes Crazy Taxi eternally entertaining. It never gets old. Without the random nature of the fares and their destinations, Crazy Taxi wouldn't be half as good. The randomness keeps the player on their toes throughout the experience. Sadly, this type of gameplay had fallen out of fashion for a long time after the original Crazy Taxi. Developers focused on graphics and the levels of simulation they could achieve as technology gradually improved. The Crazy Taxi sequels never matched up to the original, as the world of gaming had moved on. The Simpsons Road Rage did okay, but I'd wager that's because of the IP, not the gameplay. Simply put, the legacy lived on, but the series was dead. Or was it? There are games today that have continued to carry the torch. Wreckfest proves that driving carnage is still fun when done the right way. Grand Theft Auto's taxi missions continue the gameplay, although in a slightly less family-friendly way at times. Gran Turismo and Forza prove that a good soundtrack can make a driving game just that little bit more awesome. I don't know about you, but I've still got goosebumps from that Forza Horizon 5 intro. Crazy Taxi lives on in unexpected ways, so perhaps there is an opportunity for the series to make a triumphant return. Now sure, the game does still exist on mobile. The latest release was in 2017, with Crazy Taxi Tycoon seeing players running a taxi business taking on a ride-sharing mega-corporation. Does that sound like Crazy Taxi to you though? Yeah, me neither. We want a full return for the Crazy Taxi series. Recent years have proved that games from over 20 years ago can still find an audience today. Along with Crazy Taxi, I grew up playing Spyro, Crash Bandicoot and Tomb Raider. What do they all have in common? Oh yeah, they've all recently been rebooted or remastered. Within the last 4 years, there have been remastered versions of the original trilogies of both Spyro and Crash, with the Bandicoot even having a new entry released last year. Tomb Raider was rebooted in 2013, with the most recent release being in 2018. Crash even had its karting game remastered, with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled arriving in 2019. To get back onto proper driving again, Burnout Paradise was also remastered back in 2018 to positive reviews, so there is definitely a market for Crazy Taxi should a developer take up the challenge. That mix of chaos and driving is one both series share, so to see both back in the glory again would be heartwarming to say the least. It's been nearly 23 years since Crazy Taxi was first released, so I definitely think it's time we had the series back again. Ignoring the mobile games for a second, a new Crazy Taxi game is long overdue, and the gaming industry has shifted back into a place where it would be warmly received. Just imagine a Crazy Taxi with the soundtrack of the original, the driving physics of, say, Gran Turismo, and a damage model similar to Wreckfest. I don't know about you, but I'm excited just at the thought of that. For anyone still wishing to get their fix, there's always the PS2 port of the original, which is not a bad thing by any means. Hopefully one day we can finally see a remaster of the iconic game, but for now that's a worthy surrogate. The game still lives on though for me. I have a roller coaster named after and themed to the original Crazy Taxi in my park on Planet Coaster, with the game being perfect for the chaotic ride. But I think I've talked enough about Crazy Taxi for one video. Do you think Crazy Taxi should be remastered or rebooted? How many hours did you sink into the original? Let us know in the comments below. For now though, I've been Mark from Racing Games and thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Now I'm off for one more shift on the clock. It's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!